So this show is dedicated to a friend of mine. I'm not going to name him, but I've been harassing him all week because I had a conversation with him on Monday, and he said, Sean, I know I need to do video, but I can't do it yet. I'm not yet ready. And I told him to go look at my early videos. I told him to look at my current videos. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. So let me call out the elephant in the room. Do you see this? This is what happens when you're bald and you decide to shave something without shaving cream. Don't make that mistake. So I've got this nice scab on my forehead. So that's the elephant in the room. And I'm still doing Litvak Leadership Live because I don't care. I want to bring you quality content, quality conversation, even if I've chipped my head and I walk around with a blood dot on it. It's a beautiful life. Anyways, this is episode 187, and we are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics of all time, why more coaching will have you avoid backsliding. Because if you're not moving forward, you are moving backward. I am going to bring out the one, the only, my conversational partner for the day. Yes, it is the social media legend, Wes Wyatt.
The social media legend. I think I thought you were talking about the elephant in the room was me. I thought it was a fat joke you were making.
Well, it's funny. When I said the elephant in the room, I was like, Wes thinks I'm talking about him.
Yeah, and then I thought you were talking about me being the guy afraid of doing video. I thought I was very confused. That you got the third eye thing working. I don't know whether to call you Sean or Yoder. You know, it's very, very confusing, Sean.
So we've got all kinds of people here. I don't have my glasses on, so here. So Wes, help me out. What is Beth saying?
Trying to join the event, but having difficulty. So I'm not sure how you leave a comment if you. No, that's neither here nor there.
There you go. And then Eric Bam is here saying you're improved so much. We all have. Yes. So I told this friend, and Wes, you were there in the early days of Mastermind. I told him he can't go back and look at the early Mastermind videos because he's not a mastermind. He has his own podcast. This is someone a lot of people watching here would know who he was if I said his name, so I'm not going to. But he is a master podcaster, but he doesn't do video at all. And I'm just like, I don't get it, man. And he's writing a book. He goes, I know I need to do video for the book. Wes, you do video all the time where you just pop up out of nowhere. My phone will go, bzz. Oh, look, it's Wes Wyatt and his 3 cameras moving around as he's talking. I'm not sure what his point is at the moment, but he's pressing a lot of buttons. Isn't that proof that anyone can do video? You know, you kind of just go with it, or am I missing something?
I think I just got insulted.
No, you weren't insulted, but come on, let's be honest. We don't have the production values of, I'll say, an old person, Johnny Carson. Right?
We actually probably have a pretty close to what they have in the smaller studio version, but okay. I think the thing that a lot of people need to realize is that the now I don't know if I've made this particular statement on your show before. I have to be getting real close to being one of your most frequent guests. I want you to check that out because I got to be up there. But with that
you
said,
are up there. I have to get jackets for people. And
like Saturday Night Live.
Well, and I'm thinking it's going to be rainbow jackets. Some will get red, orange, yellow, green, etc.
I like pink, but you know what I was going to say is if you have a toilet in the background or a cat box or a closet with clothes piled to the roof with dirty clothes, that is, or an unmade bed, There's a lot of things. If you have an office in your bedroom, no harm, no foul, but make sure that it doesn't, have stuff in the background that's going to make your grandma fall over. Because I've seen things on counters and things hanging on the wall that you wouldn't want to see in a video. So
No.
it's just one of those things that I think anybody can do video. It's just not everybody should do video. That's probably the best way to say it.
Well, and I need to put back up my original videos. I've taken them off my YouTube page, and we're going to get to our topic at hand about coaching, but I think this feeds into it. Because when I first started doing video, I have a long list of accomplishments in the janitorial services industry, but my video accomplishments, were nil at the time. Like, okay, let's turn on a camera and do it. And I would just sit and ramble on about janitorial services aimlessly with seemingly no point. And although my videos now, I hope at least, have more of a point to them and a structure, I do find myself wandering aimlessly sometimes when I'm walking Solomon and holding up my hand and doing a video. Wes, do you ever find yourself, wandering in the desert in a video?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I am a total squirrel, kind of person. So I'm sure, without a doubt, number one, I stutter. Two, I'm that squirrel person. And three, I'm off topic on purpose a lot. So lots of jumping around and whatnot. But again, I think having either a topic like, what you're talking about, more of a structure is great. But yeah. I promise you somewhere, Sean, there were janitorial people that were listening, on every word. And so it's like you can either go out to a broader audience, like as an example, our buddy that was just on here, Randy Chafee. If he talked to just pole barn people, just roofing people, just industry people, it would never have the broader scope. So Randy talks to authors, salespeople, people in the industry, authors. So I think that
people struggling with hybrid.
That's exactly right. So I think that, you can either go broad or you can go just absolutely micro and somewhere in between, and they all work.
And, Eric brings up a good point about being consistent. I live stream every week. It is scheduled for Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And yes, we're on a Thursday, but I had another commitment. Our church, all honesty, transparency, our church was having a prophetic conference where 3 prophets came to speak over 3 nights. That could be a whole nother topic on another show, but I wanted to be in those services. Hence, Wes was gracious enough to say, yes, I will do Litvak Leadership Live on Thursday this week. And those of you who see my background here, it's different. Well, that's because I'm out of town. I'm at a hotel. And, if I turned the camera around, you'd see the unmade bed. If I turned it another way, you would see the refrigerator. But I looked around the room. I said, oh, this looks good. Let's do this. But the consistent part, every week, except when I decide not to do it for a month at a time, which, everyone needs a break, I do Litvak Leadership Live. Consistency is the key.
Yeah. And the other thing is it kind of leads into the topic. If you have somebody, Queen of Squirrels, that is basically looking to kind of keep a whip to their rear end, the best thing to do is coaching. And having a mastermind and people that kind of hold you accountable. So I think that the consistency is something that if you make it to where you have it as a priority, something that's a non-negotiable, that it's at a certain time people are expecting to see it. I experienced it this week. We'll go into that here in a second. You were saying you had a week. I had a week as well. But the trains have got to keep running. So it's something that I think if you make it a priority like that, and that people are going to be expecting it or encouraging you to do it, it's the best thing in the world to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know my friend Wes Wyatt, you can check out information about him at weswyatt.com. But Wes, take the next minute, talk about what you do and why people should contact you.
Well, what I do is I coach people to sell themselves, not what they sell. So it's kind of broad reaching, but probably more social media coaching and podcasting in the form of both video and audio. I do a lot more behind the scenes than I do in front of, but that is really it. I try to be a kind of a muse for people, if you will. I'm not a life coach, not a somebody that knows better than you. I've been here since not quite literally because computers have been around a lot longer than both of us, but I guess as long back as normal citizens were getting online, I've had a modem in my house doing it. So
did you have a MySpace page?
I did. As a matter of fact,
I did not.
Yeah.
Never even figured. I heard people talking about it. Wasn't interested. Took me forever to get on Facebook too.
Oh yeah, I got on back in the days with Prodigy, which was the precursor to AOL. So AOL come out, the You Got Mail, that was cutting edge. When I was a kid, I used to have the old phone that hooked to a cord, actually plugged into a modem, and then I'd hear my mom pick up the phone and hear the sound it was making. She'd yell at me through the house to put that thing away, and meanwhile I wouldn't even be remotely close to getting the download that I was doing, and that would take back then forever. But I've been around since the early days of computers.
Well, and the cool thing is about Wes is that
very few things.
Me too, Wes. Is that I heard of Wes. This had to be, I don't know, in the early 2000 teens from a woman named Kendra. I can look up her last name, who was speaking at BOMA in Cincinnati, talking to people about social media. And they were all kind of looking at each other like, why would we want to go online and do that? And she was talking about this man, Wes Wyatt, who understood social media and was from Ohio. Hence why you are and always will be the social media legend, Wes Wyatt.
Even if it's just in his own mind.
Before we ever met.
Yeah, I'm. It's funny. I've still yet to make any contact with that young lady, but I need to thank her, and I try to get that slide. I'd love to see it.
I've given you her name, man, and you can reach her on LinkedIn. Okay, Eric wrote a paragraph. What's cool about you guys doing live things like this? It prepares you to be able to adjust on the fly, a great interviewer, and a career builder. Yeah, like I had to reboot my computer a minute before we were going live. It's been a week.
I didn't have internet yesterday. They cut through it in the new construction next to me. So on my busiest day.
So you were doing everything with the phone?
I did a little bit with the phone. When it comes to uploading audio and video, you just can't do it with the phone. So, and that's okay.
All right, so let's jump into it. Our topic today is why more coaching is the answer to avoid backsliding. I have heard it said, I've heard it preached, that if you're not moving forward, you are moving backward. Would you agree with that as an opening statement, Wes?
I would, and the FedEx symbol would agree with you as well. If you look at it, there's a forward arrow in the logo itself.
Oh, I need to look at that. So, Wes, do you know what the word reprove means?
I'm going to let you tell me, Sean.
Okay,
I'm a little dim this time of night.
Okay, so reprove means reprove, to criticize adversely. Reprove implies an often kindly intent on correcting a fault. And it's funny, I thought reprove was like a chastisement, which also is a kindly intent, but I thought both of those words were more of a aggressive intent. So when you look at reprove as a kindly intent to correct a fault, tell me, Wes, what does Proverbs 29:1 have to do with everyone needs more coaching as the answer to keep from backsliding?
Well, how do I read that?
How do you compare that statement to this scripture?
So he who is often reproved yet hardens his neck will suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. Man, Sean.
Oh, come on, you can do this.
You answer this one for me, brother. I'm not sure.
So the individual who is often kindly corrected, yet bristles at it, will be destroyed. Instead, what that individual needs to do, if they're being corrected, is they need to understand the correction, they need to process the correction, and they then need to implement it into their lives. If all correction causes you to harden your neck, for you to ignore it, that's like ignoring feedback.
I get it now. Yep, I get it.
And if you see everything, there is no greater wisdom than the Bible. Everything that we have in society is built in there somewhere, all that is good. And that's why in my book, Proverbs for Leadership, I built it off Proverbs. So
are you talking about this great book?
There you go.
Yeah.
He's got the book. So Wes, tell me, okay, I'm just putting my glasses on because I don't have my big screen in front of me. So Wes, tell me, regardless of how much you have achieved, you need more coaching. Agree or disagree?
Absolutely agree.
Why?
Well, I figure that if you ever find the peak, as opposed to hanging out at the base camps or the areas at the bottom preparing, you're kind of done. Yeah, I mean, I say find a bigger summit. It's if you don't continue to learn, then you're basically kind of just stuck wherever you left off. So why not? I mean, I said to my son one day, I said, Xavier, I don't know all the answers. I said, I don't even know all the questions. I mean, that's what I want to know. I want to know the questions. I mean, I'll find the answers. Give me the questions. I mean, so I think that if you are somebody that is constantly seeking somebody better, and I know it's something I've said on your show, and that is when you're trying to learn tennis, you don't go to the kid down the street, unless that kid down the street's a pro. I mean, you get somebody out there that's just going to wipe your butt on the court. That's the person that you'll learn from. And in your book, one of the things it talks about is how mistakes are the best teacher. And, the thing that people need to realize is that you can tell somebody a stove is hot 100 times. It doesn't matter until they touch it. When they touch the stove and they pull back the blistered hand, they realize, oh, that's why I don't touch the stove, and then it's something that, after they nurse it for a couple weeks, they probably will never do it again, not on purpose, and so, I know as a father, it's something that of, and that is you almost feel like you're beating your head against the wall sometimes. I'll tell my kids, listen, guys, I've been around, I've been there, done that, and have the t-shirt, I've done a lot of living. I know a few things. I don't know it all, but I know a few things. And if you'll listen to me, you're going to avoid a lot of, hardships. So, I think you should always, keep learning.
Well, and I think that where people mess up, and I can speak specifically to salespeople on this, is, once you achieve a certain level of success, you think you know how to do it. You think you know what you're doing. But if you are not continually learning, being coached, coaching is not necessarily an individual coaching you. That is coaching in its purest form. but are you allowing videos into your life? Are you talking to peers in your industry about how to do things and the successes they have had? You know, what are you doing to bring in more wisdom, understanding, and knowledge to hone your skills? It's easy to say you need a coach when you're doing something new, like when we formed Mastermind and we all wanted to do video. And the funny part was we all kind of coached each other through it. I would say the expert in that had to be you and Bruce. And even you guys, you know, it was a whole lot more going on than what you had seen before, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I definitely, learned from several people, in the group on that kind of stuff, things that you could do little tweaks here and there and make gigantic differences, so I think that if you're not open to that kind of stuff, I look at these people like Colonel Sanders and Rodney Dangerfield and people that, got like a very late start, in the success side of things. And, I'll be 53 or 53. I'll be 55 this year. And, if you look around, I'm wearing a Batman ring. I try to stay very young, and I feel that, this world, I don't even think of like retirement isn't even a concept to me, Sean.
No.
Yeah. I right now feel like, as silly as it might sound, I feel like I'm just starting to get my stride in the world that I'm in right now. Even though I've been in it for, what feels like 3 decades, or longer of doing this kind of stuff. Actually probably closer to 4. I am just now starting to feel like I've got kind of the wind at my back, so it's just one of those things that if you don't, people that retire, for instance, they seem like almost immediately they start to decline, and just kind of just go down a little bit here, a little bit there, just just enough that you're like, ooh, they don't do this and they don't do that anymore. They might gain weight. They might do whatever. But I think that it's almost like, okay, that's where I'm going to be. Whereas you might be somewhere and see that same age person and they're just, let's use an example. None of us are going to keep up with Randy. Our mutual buddy Randy Chafee. The guy, and there he is. He is the Energizer Bunny. I defy you, to keep up with him, and he's got great grandchildren. But the reason why is because Randy is one of those people that he is never gonna stop learning. Never. There'll be a Zig Ziglar tape playing in his coffin. Just in case. That's just how Randy is.
What I want to know from Randy, and Randy, I don't think he's ever thought about this, but I think Randy could coach people on weight loss and fitness.
Yeah,
the guy is in tremendous shape. He's 63 years old, 62 years old. How old is Randy?
I'll say yes. Yeah, in that neighborhood, maybe older. I don't know, maybe younger.
And he is, the only word I could use to describe him is he's not thin, he's slender, but he looks fit, and he is, because he'll go walk 10 miles in a day, and then
that's a bad day.
Older. Okay. I had a number in mind, but I didn't want to say it. So 63. Come on, Randy, just tell us how old you are.
He's going to send you a gift card, for that guess.
But, people will go, well, I can walk 10 miles. Okay, great. Can you do it every day for a week?
Yeah, Randy walks 10 miles in the hotel that he's in. Have you guys ever been on a call with Randy? He paces like a cat, back and forth. He's at his standing desk, So Randy, he's the epitome of and poster child for just being awesome.
So less than 68, one would call 67, and I had a feeling it was 67, but it's not because Randy looks 67. I think Randy told me at one time he was 67, and I was like flabbergasted, absolutely flabbergasted. So many comments. Randy is nothing short of sensational. Eric's proud of him. We're all proud of Randy.
Have you noticed that Eric's comments, now that he's got this new gal in his life, there's no more bedazzled pants.
No.
He is like
nothing about his mother anymore.
Right. It's awesome. We're getting the motivational, rah side of Eric.
And Megan, right? Her name is Megan.
Okay.
So Megan has softened Eric a little bit in his commentary. I think it's Megan. Redhead woman next to Eric. You have softened Eric. There he goes. All right, so we've gotten way off topic. Let me drag us back over. Coaches can help you deal with the unexpected. And for the broad topic here, coaches are not only someone you would pay to coach you, okay, but coaches could be people within a mastermind group or even a small group of individuals who come together with the expressed purpose of lifting each other up, not to give each other lip service, but to share wisdom that they have gained for each other's mutual benefit. How do you think, Wes, that coaches can help you deal with the unexpected?
Well, in two ways. One, they probably have either been through it or know about it, so that they're probably going to be able to give you feedback on what's worked in the past. So, success leaves clues, kind of a thing. But the other thing is that if they're worth their weight in salt, then you are going to have somebody that can at least give a real good idea of what to do. It may not be spot on, but it's going to be enough that get you through the situation.
Absolutely. Eric brings up a good point. Wait, wrong, Eric. No, right, Eric. Here we go. Eric Obert, my pastor is my coach. So I don't know if Eric Obert means that he actually has a one-on-one coaching relationship with his pastor, but I think the broader point that Eric is bringing up for Eric, for myself, for I think many people in society, yet for some reason we are so silent about it, but I've obviously crawled out of my shell in the past 4 months about it, is the faith people, are being coached by their pastors if they're listening to them. I would encourage people to allow themselves to let that faith element coach you, because it's going to coach you on what is good, what is divine, what is possible for you supernatural, for you to understand that God doesn't make any junk out there, and you were made the way you were made for a reason. And look to, so I'm getting on my high horse, but I'm going to get on it because I love this verse. All right, my favorite verse: seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be given to you. Therefore, take no thought about tomorrow, for tomorrow will take the thought of the things of itself. Sufficient to the day is the trouble thereof. I don't like the second half, but I'm going to talk about it for a second. If you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be given to you, what you're seeking, righteousness is God's right way of doing things. That's all it is. So, are you righteous? Well, that's a personal question. Wes, are you doing things, do you think, in a way that you would say, yeah, this is how God would do it? Putting you on the spot. Now, think yes. In a slender slice. Don't think broad, think in a slice.
I think that the answer, Sean, is that sometimes yes. And I think that a lot of times no. But I do think that what I have and what, is kind of required is I know that I know the difference between right and wrong. First and foremost, I don't seek out to do something wrong on purpose.
Right.
That's another thing. But with that said, I am of flesh. So I do, without a doubt, drop the ball many times daily, not on purpose, all the time. And sometimes maybe, not on purpose would not be the right term, but and I'm not going to say with reckless abandonment. But I would say that I believe in the whole idea of asking for forgiveness and believing that, Jesus died for my sins. Now with that said, I'm not out there, rolling the dice every second and
Right.
then, reciting that idea. But I would say that I try to be a good person, and sometimes the trying could be harder. That's the best way I could say it.
Well, yeah, and when you look at some people think, oh, well, Christians need to be perfect. Where does it say that?
Yeah.
Where does it say that? I was, I guess you could say, born Jewish. I've used the term raised Jewish. And I don't know any Jews who think they have to be perfect. And okay, because I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, that means I'm supposed to be perfect. I mean, I'm still going to make mistakes, but I shouldn't be seeking out to do things in a sinful way, because what this verse says is seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. It says seek. It doesn't say always do his righteousness. It doesn't say, hey, you can't make a mistake, you're supposed to be righteous. It says seek first. So are people seeking to do things the right way? And I think by having a coach and embracing your spirituality, that helps you. And the flip side of the verse, this is almost something I tweeted today, because I got into my head at one point today, and I think we've all gotten in our head with things about, well, what am I going to do about this? What am I going to do about that? How am I going to get this done? What am I going to do to make this work? I've set a deadline for myself. Is it going to happen? Why is it not going to happen? Hey, take no thought for tomorrow. Why don't you just focus on the plan you have for today? Wes, you've got a lot of plates spinning. So in Cincinnati, Ohio area, where you are, did they have Bozo Circus?
No, but I grew up in Chicago, and WGN had Bozo.
Well, then you know what the example I'm going to give, because that's what I would used to see on Bozo Circus as a kid, where they would have the thin little, I don't know, poles, and the guy spinning the plates.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to.
He was a magician too.
I'm sorry?
He was the magician on the show.
Yeah. So we're not supposed to spend. Was he Wizzo?
Wizzo, yeah.
Wizzo spun the plates?
Yeah, he was the one that would come out and spin the plates.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, him and Cookie.
Something. So, our life is not supposed to be spinning plates. Sometimes we commit to too much. Have you ever had that experience, Wes?
I have, and it's kind of funny because within the last couple weeks, one of the posts I put out for actually for Randy with Building Wins was don't let Monday rob your Sunday. And in that particular case, it was more of a enjoy your weekend before you start thinking about the beginning of the week kind of thing. But two things for you. One is, I really truly believe that when you make plans, God laughs, because you don't know what the plans are, so even though you may not like the verbiage of that second half of that, I do think, that you should live in the day, and, they call it, the present, because it's a gift, and, all that. I believe that. Now I think you should also be, I guess, future based as well,
sure.
in the sense that I don't think you should have like this reckless abandonment of just when it's dawn, you're done, kind of a thing. But at the same time, if you think about stuff, they say that when you're mad at somebody, it's like drinking poison and expecting them to die. So the same thing is if you're sitting around worrying about tomorrow today, I do have a problem with that. I think that it's something that you should just, John Addison says, live every day as if it's your last. One of these days you'll be right. And I think that also has something to think about. Again, you have to be practical and, and know that, okay, there are going to be bills tomorrow. I can't, spend all my money because you're living for the day. Not talking about that. I'm talking about, being in the present and being present, because that story that you shrug off from your kid that they're telling that you're kind of sitting there, thinking, when is this going to end? You're going to miss that. They're going to leave one of these days, and then you're not going to have that story, or I went and saw my father-in-law today. He's got Alzheimer's. It's something that when I got home, Julianne said, you stopped and saw my dad? And I was like, of course, I was driving by. I'm not going to stop in and talk to him. I mean, right. You never know when the last time you're going to talk to somebody is, so it's just one of those things that I think that it's paramount, that you do exactly what that second verse says. And of course, be practical for tomorrow as well.
So Eric is disagreeing with something, but he didn't finish his thought. You can't live every day like it's your last. So maybe he's talking about like it's your last pizza.
He probably just took a bite of cake or something.
Yeah, could be. So coaches help you deal with the unexpected. We've been heavy into scripture, so I'm just going to keep us there because it's fun. The book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. So where this comes from regarding coaches is, it is my opinion that coaches help you focus. I had a coach last year, last year, we're in 23. Okay, so our engagement started at the end of 21 and bled over in the 22. And when I first got with my coach, and it's Dr. Jeff Williamson, out of Bourbonnais, Illinois, worked with him for 4 months. And I told him everything that I wanted to do and everything that I wanted to accomplish and my plans for all of it. And he had me sit down and create, he said, write down how much time you plan to spend on everything each day. And I ended up making this elaborate spreadsheet, which is kind of my way. But what I discovered was I was like 25 hours short in the week for the time I wanted to spend on everything. And I would have never known that. I would have learned it, I'm sure, eventually. But I was beating myself up that I wasn't spending as much time working on things as I thought I should. But what I was trying to do was absolutely physically, genetically, physically, that's the word I'm thinking of, maybe, impossible, because there's not that many hours in a day. Literally, I was budgeting more time than there was to do anything, unless I was just not going to sleep. Have you been there, Wes?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I think somebody that I've been following a lot, over the last couple of years and watching their trajectory is Rob Dyrdek. And I don't know if you know who he is, but he's from this area, Dayton area, and runs $1 billion company. He is the host of the MTV show Ridiculousness. And when you watch him, you would think that it was some kind of like hip hop guy, but I mean behind the scenes, the way that they film Ridiculousness has gotten down to a absolutely granular model, and it's all because of Rob, because he does all those shows, which are in I think 300 plus shows a year now, if not more. Wow. maybe just under 400, but they film them like 5 blocks at a time, and it is 4% of his life, time wise, but yet it's probably 85% or more of MTV's programming. So he is basically MTV right now. And
that's amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. But he tracks every single aspect of his life and then goes through and rates it. So as he's doing stuff through the day, he'll say, okay, today I brushed my teeth and I noticed that if I use my left hand instead of my right, I gain whatever. So then he'll start doing that. And now he gets his toothbrushing routine down by maybe a minute. But a minute times 365 times maybe 2 or 3 is a lot of minutes. So and he tracks every single aspect of everything. Another person that is in my little boy dream world of what I would want to be is magic, is David Copperfield. David Copperfield, the entire time he's doing his magic, he has a mic and he can hit a button and kind of talk to his staff as he's doing the show and say, this would be better if I did this, this walk as opposed to, the walk from the other here, because this looks better. It fits better. The way that I lift the curtain would be better if I did this. And it's a constant and never ending improvement. The whole Kanai concept being done literally all the time. Doesn't need to do it. He could come out and do the same act and never add anything and probably do that forever, but he doesn't. He constantly improves. So whether it's Rob Dyrdek, David Copperfield, or whoever you want to look at, you gotta understand that if you're doing that, you are going to be able to get that time down and then figure out, like in your case, maybe there were tasks that you were doing that you could have, fed over to a virtual assistant, or something of that nature. And then you've now doubled your time, because you're essentially doing the Rockefeller. He said, I'd rather have, 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own, So
I got to interrupt you for a second. This is what blows my mind, and why I am so glad that I am friends with you, because I'm hanging out with people that are coaching me like you just did, explaining all that. But you bring up the Rockefeller example. I knew exactly the example you were bringing up, but how many people do you bring that up to that they've never heard of it?
Oh, I mean, bunches. I mean, the thing that you need to know, Sean, is that if you went up and said, a Gary Vaynerchuk comment one day, a Zig Ziglar, a Earl Nightingale, and a Dale Carnegie, 5 days at a gas pump, to every person that come up, you'd be lucky at the end of the week to have, just a couple yeses. And it's not because of ignorance. It's because we're in this world. But the thing is that information is out there in the ether, and it is out there for everyone. And it's information that, whether it's I guess I can never get the thing, that the Bibles and the stuff that's behind me, and then the multitude of books, not to mention the, things I do online in the form of podcasts, videos, YouTube, whatever. I'm constantly trying to ingest that stuff. And if I have a monkey trick, if you will, I heard Dennis Miller say that years ago, and very similar statement. I can kind of take stuff in like that and retain it and regurgitate it back out later. And every time I say it, whether it's the 3 people I just used as an example, or, another thing that we come up with, it constantly just hardens that information in my head. So I get to not only know it, but I get to share it. And so it gets out there. And then if you use that example and say, I know you didn't know who Rob Dyrdek is, you're going to know after tonight, and you're going to love him. Because he has done what all of us want to do, in addition to, being he's married a beauty queen, he's got,
well, I've done that already.
Yeah. You and me both. But it's just one of those things that if you model the people that know what they're doing and have done it, you can do it too.
So Eric brings up a good point, and I want you to talk about this. Eric wants you to talk about virtual assistants.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can have it in two ways now. Okay. I'm gonna use a word that if you are an acronym that if somebody hasn't heard it at this point, they literally need to just, make today their big day and then call it quits, like we were talking about.
Okay, wait, I've got my pen. Let's hear it.
Well, it's two words, two letters, AI. AI has become something now, Sean, that what you would have hired a virtual assistant, a VA, which is what Eric was asking about. In the past, it would have been somebody in the States or another overseas location that would take on
in the Philippines or India.
Yeah. And they would, they'd pump out, content for you, images for you, titles, whatever. Now, with things like Chat GPT and copy AI and things like that, you can go in, and as long as it kind of loops back to something I was saying before, you don't necessarily need to know all the answers in the world, but the questions. And so if you ask AI, are you aware of the works of Sean Litvak? And it'll come back and say, yes, Sean Litvak is a, author, whatever, list.
Right.
Okay. In his words, please write me a 200-word blog post about why you should have XYZ. Okay. If it is a good question, the way you worded it, it will then put out information that is absolutely, just amazing. And the thing that you need to know with AI is, or at least the output of an AI, it's not always perfect, but what it will do is it will behave as your muse to kind of goose you in a direction that you're like, oh, okay, that is what I need to do. And then you might take out the stuff that it says, Sean was able to, jump 22 feet in the high jump. And you're like, okay, that's not right. But the other stuff, it'll come through and it'll be spot on, stuff that is right. So, I think that when you're trying to figure out how can I have more hours in the day, a virtual assistant or AI or just a, good old fashioned employee, that isn't AI or a VA, that's somewhere else. If they can take over a task for you that you would be able to then free up time in another area that is a IPA, an income producing activity, then you're going to win. And it may not be something that is, readily available to you yet. You may have to do the sweat equity in the beginning, but as time goes on, you'll get to a point where then you can, have that other person, taking on the task. And then at some point they may take over what you're doing and you're, overlooking a bunch of them. And now it's that Rockefeller thing again. You've got a whole room of people. If you think of the movie Willy Wonka, with Veruca Salt's dad, he's got his whole, candy, floor searching, or Peanuts searching through all these candy bars for his daughter to get the golden ticket. So he essentially was able to be, 100 people for his daughter to open candy bars. And that really is the mindset that, especially it's a good visual, that you can have. Okay, I don't want to be the bratty version of him, but I want to be Veruca's dad. One of these days, I don't want to be out there doing it, but I want to have a whole team doing it for me. And if you do that and you have that mindset, you'll get there.
So you and I, after the broadcast tonight, I want to hear more about, because I've been using Chat GPT, but I think that there is other AI that I could be using. And so I encourage people to check it out or contact Wes about it for his wisdom, understanding, and knowledge about it, but don't leave when we run the credits. What about passing the mantle? There used to be a time where in business generations would retire, over time, and there's the heir apparent, and with coaching, it used to be that bosses, supervisors would coach someone to be their heir. Is that still happening? Do you see that? And if not, should it be happening?
I think it's happening a lot less. I think it still happens, but unfortunately, I don't think that we have this, especially the skills jobs, of people doing it. Where you would find out that somebody's dad was a plumber, their uncle's a plumber, their aunt's a plumber. I mean, or a cop, or some of the things that you used to see. So I don't think that it happens as much. But I do think it still happens. And yes, I think it should happen a lot more, especially in the sense of not so much passing the mantle, but one of the other things that is in your chapter that you're talking about tonight was, when the student, the teacher becomes a student kind of a thing. I used this a while back in one of the podcasts. I may have even talked to you about it. But I was driving on a road here in our little village, and I went to turn, and my son said, "Dad, you didn't use your signal." And I said, "Xavier, there's nobody out here." And he goes, "Well, Dad," he goes, "the way you do some things are the way you do everything." Guess who told him that?
Oh, so, I love it.
And I said, "Xavier, you got me." I said, "Not only are you right," I said, "but you use my words again." I've said that to him all his entire life, and so I think that when that happens, it's kind of like the Cats in the Cradle. I mean, song, it starts playing in your head. So I mean, I think that it's just one of those things that if you can get to a point where people are kind of mimicking you and doing the stuff that you do correctly, or say correctly, or teach, or you hear somebody else telling somebody, while they're swinging, they say that to one of their friends they're teaching to to bat or kick a ball or throw a ball or whatever, and they say that back. You're like, all right, my job's done here. I've at least imparted it to at least one person who's going to continue the idea.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that it definitely is something that needs to be done more, especially in a positive way.
Absolutely. We have gone on for 53 minutes, and we've been all over the place, but we have been dealing with the unexpected, another thing that a coach can help you do. I really think that, so our kids, I think your kids are younger than mine.
I have a 19 and a 20-year-old.
Okay, I have a 27-year-old and a 25-year-old. Is that right? I think that's right. Once they reach a certain age, you don't keep track as much. All of a sudden it hits you. It's like, wow, how'd that happen?
Hey, at least you're not saying they're birthed in months. Then I'd be in trouble.
No. But I still coach my kids for lots of things, but definitely to deal with the unexpected. I was having a conversation with my son today, and yes, I have stuttered also, was in speech therapy for years and years. When you were talking about that, I didn't know we had that in common. But I was helping my son to say, okay, well, this is going on, and this is going on, and this is going on, and these things could, all converge at the same time. What are you going to do about it? Have the forethought, how can you make all of these things help you in a good way? And he hadn't necessarily thought about that. And, that's where a coach can help you deal with the unexpected, was either when they've gone through a situation already, or when you're talking to them, they start to draw the lines further than you're actually drawing them because you're living in it.
Well, we just talked about reaching peaks, and having a Sherpa, take you up the mountain. There's a reason that you hired those people. They know every footpath. And the reason they know it is because not only have they gone up, they probably went up with their ancestors, up the mountain. But the other thing is they walk it every day. It's kind of like these donkeys that walk at the Grand Canyon. I mean, the idea of that terrifies me. But if they know the path, that is something that would I do it? No way.
Randy would.
What was that now?
Randy would do it without the donkey.
Randy would have the donkey on his back, because that's how Randy is. But yeah, it's just something that I think that if you are looking again to have somebody that can help you avoid the pitfalls and the barbed wire and the path to take. If you ever seen that journey of an entrepreneur, where it goes like this, and it's all over the place instead of a straight line. As the crow flies, everybody can see success. But if you actually take the route that is, going to get you there, you're going to hit so many things that the thick skin of being an entrepreneur is just the fact that you got to say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to get there and I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm not going to listen to what people tell me. I'm not going to, let people say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. And all the like. If you decide that you're going to do it, another guy that I've already brought up tonight, John Addison, he always says that he loves the word decide. And the reason why is because it's got the ending aside. And he says, if you think about all the things that end in that, it's suicide, pesticide, homicide, genocide, all bad things. But the idea behind that ending is it's the death of something. So when you decide, you are giving the death of all other options. Okay. So if you say you decide, you've made a decision, that means that you have decided that it's not an option to quit. That you're not going to give up. It is what it is. So I love that statement. If you guys don't follow John Addison, make sure that you do. But that's all his. I love that idea because it's not necessarily having laser focus, putting the blinders on, all that stuff. It is no matter what is going on here, I'm going this way. Didn't mean to bump the mic, guys, but it's something that is just an absolute. And I love that idea.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have gone 58 minutes. And as you saw, and I'll put it back up again, people have been telling us great chat, which is their way of saying I'm out of here, but you guys did good. So I'm going to cut us off. I'm going to define this scripture. Where there is no vision, the people perish, but happy is he who keeps the teaching. Have a 3-year plan, have a 5-year plan, have a 10-year plan. This is what I tell you. And here's the thing. You got to write it down, and you don't have to know it perfect, but you've got to have a vision. I've got a vision. I've got a whiteboard in my office, and on that whiteboard is a personal hashtag that I put up there. And it is a now 3-year goal. I have a goal to achieve a specific thing when I turn 60 in, a little bit less than 3 years. I need to go beyond that. But I've got a 10-year goal also. And I've got it written down. Do I know how I'm going to get there? No. But I've got plans how to achieve the next goals as to what I'm doing, the desires of my heart. So, Wes, thank you for being on my show this evening, for your wisdom, your understanding, your knowledge, your insight, for being part of, the social media legend group out there and bringing yourself, allowing yourself to work with those of us that are not legendary in social media and are simply trying.
Thank you. I appreciate being on the show, brother. And I also want to thank you for this autographed copy of your awesome book.
Yeah, I haven't even brought it up, but since you did, where do I have it? Here we go. Signed copies of Proverbs for Leadership. Go to proverbsforleadership.com. Wes gave me an endorsement in my book. So his appeared one day in his mailbox, and I truly appreciate your endorsement and you participating in the vision that became Proverbs for Leadership.
It was my pleasure, my friend.
Eric Ober. Eric, you are waiting for yours. go to proverbsforleadership.com. And that is how you will get your copy. All right. That's it, folks. Be happy, be well, be blessed in all you do. And I'm going to be back Monday with a secret guest. Join me then.